Hey guys, back again with another video on Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns. And yeah, it's an impressions video, so I didn't beat this game and I'm not going to play it anymore. Now, I don't want to say I hated this game, it's just not for me. There's a lot of design decisions in this game that kind of irritate me, and we'll start with the story because it's one of the things I don't like about the game. Now, I'm going to be trying to not spoil anything of the previous games for those of you that haven't played 13 and 13-2, but you play as Lightning, and basically God has tasked you with saving the souls of people before the world ends, and there's like a time limit. There's a daytime, I think it's like 13 days or something like that. Before the world ends, and that kind of ties in with the gameplay. That's the big feature with this game. It's actually one of the things that I didn't like about it, but yeah, that's the general story. There's a lot of returning characters from previous games, but the dialogue is really bad, and the main story I wasn't finding all that interesting, and I wasn't that big into. I'm surprised Final Fantasy XIII has gotten 3 games. Do we really need 3 games? It's 2 sequels to that game. I didn't think the story was even that good in that game, but here we are with a 3rd game, a trilogy of sorts. But yeah, the writing is just really poor overall. A lot of the side quests are really boring, and we'll get to that. Yeah, the story was just doing nothing for me, and that's one of the reasons why I dropped the game. I'm like around 8 hours in, I want to say. But gameplay is weird because this game is really experimental. It's actually probably one of the more experimental Final Fantasy games I've played, and it's weird, man. The battle system, you only play as Lightning, so you don't have like party members. It's basically you're just controlling Lightning and you're fighting multiple enemies, and the battles are weird because it's almost like a side-scrolling view, but you can kind of bring the camera up and get a good view of the action, and you can choose between different enemies, and you kind of go back and forth, sort of like an older Tales game. And basically, you have a bunch of different moves that are tied to your different buttons: triangle, square, circle, and X. And the system in this game that I really like is the schemata system, where basically based on the clothes that you're wearing, they're basically kind of like loadouts. From like a first-person shooter, where you can have like a piece of garb for your character, you can equip a different weapon, a different shield, and you can have different abilities. And you get 3 schematas, and you can switch between them freely on the fly in battle. And you kind of want to make kind of want to have balanced schematas. So personally for me, I had like a combat-focused one on like physical damage, a magic-focused one with some like classic Final Fantasy magic abilities, and then I had like a more balanced schemata. And this system, the customization with this system is actually really cool, and I love how it changes the look of Lightning depending on what garb you've got equipped. Like, it's this really cool system, and the battle system is decent too. I'm not a huge fan of the way you have to block attacks to prevent a lot of damage, or in some cases you can prevent all of it. It's very tricky to time your guards in this game. Like, I like the combat system, like it's got kind of like a fluid flow to it, but I don't know, the guarding, maybe I just wasn't quite getting the hang of it, but it just didn't feel second nature to me ever. It always felt like kind of a pain in the ass, really, and I was finding it very hard to avoid attacks. And this game is very difficult. I've heard it was like considered a very difficult game, so I turned it to easy mode, and it was still really hard. Like, some of the boss battles I really struggled with. But, this combat is still probably one of my favorite parts of the game, as well as like the customization. But there's a bunch of other gameplay issues I have with this game. Now, it's kind of similar to Majora's Mask in a way, where you've got this time limit, and characters are on their own schedules, and you've got this like massive world open to you. And unlike Majora's Mask, you can't rewind time, at least from what I've seen. You can have these abilities that use EP, and one of them you can kind of stop time for a bit if you're kind of running late on one of your side quests. But EP is almost like kind of like a currency in this game. It allows you to buy potions, allows you to use some curing spells, some revival spells, and you can kind of do a limit break type thing in combat. There's also a staggering in combat is very important, like Final Fantasy XIII. If you kind of hit enemies' weaknesses a bunch and kind of like make this meter kind of fill up in a way, they'll eventually get staggered, and then you'll do like a ton of damage. But yeah, the time limit in this game I thought was very frustrating. Majora's Mask, you had 3 days, and they were the same, and you could always rewind time whenever you wanted, and you got to know each character, you got to know their set schedules, and the side quests were really interesting and rewarding with all the masks that you would collect. And with this game, I guess they tried to make side quests important because it's what you're trying to do to kind of basically have more time. But if you complete side quests, you get stat increases, and completing side quests basically works as your level ups. You'll get like plus 30 strength, plus 10 magic, plus 50 HP, and this is the only way to get stat increases. There's no traditional leveling up system in this game, so when you're fighting enemies, you're getting gold and then you're getting EP. That's it. And yeah, it kind of makes the combat feel like a waste of time. I really dislike this design decision, enough for me to really stop playing the game, in combination with some other things, but this is the big point with me. Like, I hated this so much. Some of the main quests, you'll get some stat boosts when you complete some of the main quests, but really you want to focus on side quests, and they're really boring, and a lot of them are really irritating in the sense that you kind of have to look up a walkthrough for a lot of them. You're not going to know exactly how to complete them, or where certain items you're going to need. Like, a lot of them are fetch questy, a lot of them are kill this. They're just not interesting, they're not fun to do, and you feel like you have to do them to get your stat increases, or you're going to be under-leveled. And then you feel like you're wasting time because you're not getting to the main quest, and a lot of these side quests take a long time, and it's just, I don't know, the side quest system in combination with the time limit, it was always frustrating. It was never a pleasant experience for me. So yeah, not a fan of that leveling up system. I'm trying to think, like, what else. Like, I don't know. There's not a whole lot to the game other than that. I mean, you got your combat system, you got your side quests. I mean, that's about it for gameplay. So as cool as the combat is, and as cool as this schemata system is, I wish they were in a different game. A game with like a party setup or something. Well, even if this game just had a traditional leveling up system, I actually might have played it more. I actually might have maybe made it further in, but yeah, I don't know. The gameplay just did not do it for me, unfortunately. And I know this is a divisive game. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. I wouldn't say I hate this game. It's just like I said before. It's just not for me. Visuals, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty similar to 13 and 13.2. I don't think it looks drastically better, though I did notice some more frame rate dips in this one. But the art direction is actually quite good. The cities that you visit are really vibrant and full of life, and the architecture is really interesting. Like, they feel like lived-in cities, which is kind of rare with RPGs, I find, or at least JRPGs. But that's not the case with this game. So yeah, the character models all look good. The cutscenes look fantastic. I mean, you know, it's using the same engine as 13 and 13.2, and that engine is just really good. The game definitely looks good. Audio, the music, I don't know, the music wasn't doing much for me. There was a few songs that I liked, but from what I've heard, I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Final Fantasy XIII's soundtrack. Probably not even as good as 13.2, although there were a few songs I liked, and there were some returning songs, some of the good songs in Final Fantasy 13. Voice acting is good, you know, like with 13 and 13.2. The sound design is quite good as well, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's about it. I could go further into detail with the gameplay, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe the story gets more interesting towards the end. Let me know if that gets more interesting. But yeah, it's funny because like the leveling up system in this game, like the side quests and stuff, that sounds like it's not a deal breaker. But to me it was. I hated it so much that it made the game just not fun for me. But yeah, that's it, guys. Lightning Returns. I know I was planning on playing it for my Final Fantasy series review, and I might include it in there too. I'm not sure how that's going to work yet, because Final Fantasy 3, like, I hated that way more than this game. But yeah, I actually kind of prefer Final Fantasy 13 and 13.2, oddly enough. I don't know, this game's structure, the side quest system just wasn't doing it for me. But yeah, that's it, guys. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.